Hi guys, I'm Matt from Big Yellow Fishes, and today we're going to be using Heat in Unreal Engine to create a short animation. Let's watch it. So the first thing we're going to do is go into the Heat auto rigging system, and as you'll see, it's nice and easy to use. So today we're using a little bit beast from a Kid Called Beast collection. And the first thing we're going to do is go and attempt to rig our bit beast. So I'm just adding in each section. So I'm adding in the neck, the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists, the pelvis, and then the upper leg, lower leg, and ankle. Cool, once that's done, I'm just going to grab the next button and just adjust the bones. So you can see we just need to adjust the feet a little bit, but that's nice and easy to do. All you do is grab the points and then just pull them forward or back depending on where they need to be moved to. Okay, so once that's done, the beast is pretty much ready to be rigged. We don't have to do anything with the hands because there are no fingers, so that's nice and easy for us. Now, if that doesn't work for you and you already have a rigged model, then here's how to do it directly from Unreal Engine 5.3. I'm not going to go into great detail for this, but what you need to create is an IK rig. Now what this does is it retargets your character from the model that Heat gives you, and means that you can then add those animations through a retargeting process. Now in Unreal Engine 5.4, this is a one-step process. It's slightly more complicated in earlier versions of Unreal. It's worth maybe looking at a tutorial on IK rigs. Okay, so what you'll need to do now is create the IK retargeter. And we tend to do it as T69H, and then we'll pop in our character's name. So you add your T69H to the top and then your own character to the bottom. And then what you can do is move it across with target mesh offset. As you can see, it's kind of like a one-step process. As soon as you've got the Heat animations, you can get them running really well. So I'm just going to turn off the kind of settings here so we can see it a bit clearer. And now you can kind of see really simply how well it's transferred from a normal humanoid model to this voxel style character. So we'll just try a couple more so that you can see. And now we're going to create a little animation using this. So what we're going to do is make sure it imports as the T69H. Once we're in here, you can kind of see the different animations that we've got. So Heat gives you a bunch of preset animations with your subscription, but obviously you can get more or you can create your own. So what we're going to do is just a simple animation. So something like a jump and a run. I really like this chaos run, so I think we might go for that. So let's drag that in. And as you can see, it says getting Heat animation. What we do is simply let that load. And then we're going to go through the same process as earlier with the retargeter. And all we need to do is click add to reference. So we'll do that now. You can kind of see the little animation of it running and looping round. And then what we're going to do is get our bit beast in this area. So let's add that first. So we're just going to scroll down and find it for all these little animations. So let's type it in, run. We click it and we click export selected animations. So we can see that looks really good on the model. So now we can go ahead and use this in our animation once we've popped it in a folder. So what it will do is it will ask you for your folder, and you just need to pop that wherever your exports are. We have a specific folder for export animations. We're going to create what's called a level sequence, and you can do that by going over to Cinematics and Level Sequence. We're just going to call this Run because it's a nice little tutorial. Keep it nice and simple. So the first thing we're going to add is a camera, and you can do that just by clicking the cinema camera icon. Okay, and already we've got a camera set up ready to go. So the next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to add our character. So we're going to drag and drop in our mesh, and then what we need to do is drag that into our sequencer. Okay, so we're going to add our heat chaos running animation, and as you see straight out of the bat it starts working. So already we've got a really cool animation, but what we want to do is we want to combine that. So what we can do is we can add a second animation. So I'm going to start with a jump, and then what these are kind of strips of animation, so we can kind of cross dissolve them a little bit. And what that does, as you can see, is it kind of mixes the two animations together, which is really, really helpful when you're creating kind of longer sequences and you want to kind of create a bit of a flow. So you can see now the Bit Beast kind of does a little jump and then he has a run. So we've now got everything we need in our shot to create this little transition. So what we're going to do now is we're going to probably sort out our focus just a little bit. So we can do that by going to our camera, setting up our f-stop at the end where we know it's in focus. So we're going to add our keyframes, and then we're just going to focus in. And I tend to do it by zooming in on the eyes, focusing in, and then coming back out. So I like the kind of 35mm look, but everyone is different. So what we're going to need to do is make sure that the leaves are in the sequence. So we do that by just dragging them in from the outliner into the sequence. If these particles weren't in the sequence, then they just wouldn't load when we go to render it out. So it is important that you make sure that anything in your scene that's kind of particle effect based is put into your sequence settings. And that just adds a little layer of depth into kind of your sequences. So the last thing we'll do is just add one more shot, and then we'll render out this sequence. Okay, so we're going to go from a shot from behind because I think that will be kind of a really nice contrast. So we're just moving the camera around, getting it in the right space, ready to render. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is render out our sequence. So we click the little render icon, which looks like a kind of camera clipboard, and then we just click render local. Now you might have a couple of shaders load up. It will take a minute or two just to clear through them, and then you'll be good to go. Now Unreal Engine is a real-time renderer, and that means it will roughly take as long as your sequence is to render something out, unless you're going through separate frame passes, which means doubling up on the rendering of your frames up to as many times as you want. Now this does increase the quality, but obviously it takes longer in terms of output. So we're just going to keep it nice and simple today and use our standard Big Yellow Fishes settings. So this will now render out really simply, nice and easy, and you should have hopefully no issues here. Thanks for joining us today. It's been really fun to kind of teach you guys how to use Heat, and hopefully you learned something. So make sure to follow us, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.